And good morning, everybody. Peggy Berryhill here with you on this beautiful Friday. My gosh, we've got blue skies, something we have not seen. This is the second day in a row. Although we understand that we do need to be careful that the wind might be changing and that might bring us some smoke. So just know that we have a wonderful guest this morning. You all are so excited to know Kristina Jetton from the Sea Ranch Lodge. She's the general manager. She's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. Let me zoom through some local announcements, and then we're going to get to talk about what's going on there at the Sea Ranch. I know. And Kristina, don't worry. We only have about 2,000 questions for you. So just relax and, it'll be easy. It'll go so fast. Here we go. We got a nice smile out of her. So that's what we want is some smiles and some joy as we go into this Friday. Now, the other two quick things regarding the fires, of course, our hearts go out to everybody who is just, not only is California burning up, Michigan is burning up, Siberia is burning up. Our world is changing. So we have to be really careful and be careful in our own neighborhoods. Please do what you can to clean up your yards. That's just what's going on. And of course, please wear your masks and wash your hands and get vaxxed. The 41st person to die in the latest person to die in Mendocino was only 41. And she did not get vaxxed and she did not mask. Masking and vaccine can help save not only your life, but it might save mine. It might save Kristina's. It might save the child down the street. It's about saving all of us, humans. This is a human thing that's happening. Okay, now let's talk about a little art. Studio Discovery Tour is happening this weekend and next weekend. This is such a wonderful event. Pick up a brochure like this. You can get it at this Discovery Gallery, which is down on Highway 1, just opposite Trinks, basically. And with it, you will get a map, give you a guided tour, which you can then do at your leisure. Stop and meet many of our coastal artists that we all love to see, including and then there are just so many. I think it's 40 artists or something. It's just great. 1, 2, or 3 might be together in the same place, and so that is a great thing to do. We're also looking at other art openings, the Stuart Coomer Gallery up on Old Stage Road. That would be Heidi Endeman and her amazing art. Not technically part of the tour, but she's going to be open this weekend. Stuart Coomer Gallery at 35290 Old Stage Road, just south of Fish Rock Road. I love Heidi's work, and I just wish we could get her in here someday for an interview. And then a little reminder that our friends at Sweet Life Bakery right off Highway 1 will be closed starting Monday, August 30th, and until September 20th. So today is, or this weekend and today are your last chance to get some of their great vegan and gluten-free foods and sweets and all kinds of stuff. But they will be back. But this is it today and the weekend. Okay, I'm going to stop there because we do want to talk to Kristina. So good morning, Kristina. How you doing? Including, and then there are just so many. What is that? Okay, why am I hearing that? Okay, now let's try you, Kristina.
Good morning to you, and thank you for welcoming me to the show.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hang on. Other art I have a Stuart Coomer Gallery up on Old Stage Road. What am I getting a feed from the YouTube? And her amazing art.
Yes.
Not technically part.
There we go.
That stopped. Okay. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Kristina. We got you now.
I said good morning, and thank you so much for having me on the show. And no, I'm not a little bit nervous about this 2,000 questions, so just go ahead.
Hey, I love your accent. So are you German? Is it German?
No, I actually grew up in Switzerland.
What's
I was born and raised in Zurich, and I came here to the States in in my early 20s. I was fortunate enough to end up in Northern California and call both San Francisco and then Napa my home for the last way too many years to admit. And now I'm up here at the Sea Ranch, and I just love this whole area. We've been coming here actually our whole lives, my kids and my husband and I, celebrating many special moments and creating many special memories, like so many of the Sea Ranchers. So it's an honor to be here. And I wanted to just say a thank you to everybody who's welcomed me to the community. It's been really wonderful, and I love every minute of it.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm sorry we had to make a little last minute shift in where Kristina was sitting. She was sitting out seeing, of course, the gorgeous ocean, which we all love here, but we couldn't see her face. So we're so happy we get to see you and meet you. Well, if you had been from Zurich recently, I mean, I would have asked you if you know Tina Turner, but since you haven't been there in a while.
And her famous neighbors, yes.
Yes, her famous neighbors. All right. Hey, so let's just get started here. People meaning our community, the Sea Ranch and all the rest of us coasties on the other side of the bridge here. We're so excited to hear that, and you can let us know, but when the lodge might be reopening, what's going on there. People are been waited seriously with kind of bated breath, and they're just so anxious to know what's going on. And again, before we get there, I do want people to understand Kristina has a long experience in working with places like the Sea Ranch Lodge, the Ventana Lodge, big in Carmel, and most recently from the Flamingo in Santa Rosa. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people used to call it the Flaming O. But
I know. I'm very well. Everybody also wanted to sneak into the pool and go salsa dancing and have their high school reunions there. So yes, that's what it's known for.
Well, okay, I'm backtracking here. What drew you to the hospitality industry?
It actually, I mean, everybody, if you say that you're from Switzerland, everybody says, oh, did you go to the hotel school in Lausanne? Well, far from it. I studied history in college, and I came to the States and studied political science. And I actually put myself, through school working at a hotel. And I fell in love with it. And that was a very long time ago. And I have done it ever since. And I wouldn't change it for anything. It's a very, very rewarding career that I've been part of. I've seen so much of states, of the whole world. I've been a part of so many special projects. And I think the project that you mentioned, Ventana Big Sur, is probably the one that relates most directly to the Sea Ranch Lodge here. And it's partially what drew me here, because I think whereas Big Sur is very different from the Sea Ranch, certainly, I think what the communities share is a pride in the history of their community, a love for the land, and the feeling of this responsibility that you want to preserve it for future generations. And that was so prevalent in Big Sur, because I actually was there when the highway was closed, and we had to hike to work for 7 months.
Hike
on a trail, and on a trail that the locals got together and established because they needed to survive. And so it just shows a real perseverance and grit and true character. And I think we have all of that here. And I just want to make this place really special and open it back up as a hub for the community and a gathering place, and live lightly on the land for everyone.
Well, you just opened up all the questions, that people are really curious about. The community is happy to hear that commitment to continuing in the living lightly on the land and being a part of the community. But what does that mean to you? How do you see, and with the new owners, the new ownership, the changes, how do you see you're going to continue or even open that communication with the community?
Well, I think we've already started. we're working on a few projects here at the lodge, besides the fact that we restored it within its original footprint. We used architect Mithun and interior designer Charles Delisle, as well as Termoda, our landscaping company, all with having this same mantra in mind. They, Termoda looked at the land and in a very thoughtful way, redesigned some of the landscape, all native plants, only to be trampled by the sheep the other day, and now we have to start all over again. But, and the same goes for the interior. When you come and see, and I know many people around here have peeked in the windows and looked in when our doors were open, and I hope you all agree it is really beautiful. And David Hilmer and Pioneer Contracting, who is not only our general contractor, but so much more, and the steward of our land and the steward of all the land of the ownership, really did an amazing job bringing it back to its original glory and restoring the woodwork in a very thoughtful way, and changing the fireplace in a thoughtful way, and just making sure that the original vision of MLTW, the developer Al Boki, and as well as Lawrence Halpern, is taken into consideration and is honored and is followed through on. I think one of the main goals of our ownership, and I know everybody is wondering why they want to stay anonymous, but that's just what they have asked for, and it's my responsibility to do that for them, not just because of privacy, but also because of safety. And it's actually a wonderful responsibility to have, because they trust David and I and our team here to be the stewards of this land and make sure that their vision and the vision of the original architects continues on and is put in place and is followed.
Okay. Again, that's, to honor the ownership there, that they want to be anonymous and safe, makes us even more curious, but we respect that. I have some photos up of the exterior of the building. I want to show our audience. And by the way, I forgot to mention, we are live on YouTube. KGUA has a YouTube channel, so we're now radio with pictures. We like to, share a lot with our audience, and people are really responding. So, and of course, the woman we call Wing Woman is here, Lindsey, and she's going to show, we have some exterior, and if you're looking, I don't know if you're looking at your screen, Kristina, but yes. So you can see some of these beautiful photos, and I don't know who took these, do you?
Was it Paul Kozel?
Paul Kozel may have taken these, but yes, I mean, restoring the logo, of course, the wonderful Ram's Head logo, or they look like a ram, but the waves, the parking lots, the walkways. I mean, just seeing all of this wood restored to its glory. I love the little pathway with the lights hanging over, and you see the ocean. And then we have a big sign that says reopens 2021. So, and what can you tell us? When is this reopening, and what will it entail? Will it be a one day thing, a week-long thing, a month-long event?
So our target date for reopening is October 1st. And I say it's our target date because, of course, like everybody else in the community, and I've had so many conversations with so many other merchants and business owners, we are having a very challenging time finding staff. So if we can make it happen October 1st, then we will open October 1st. So if anybody knows of anybody who would like a job at the Sea Ranch Lodge, please send them our way. We actually have a job fair next week on September 2nd from 12 to 5, and we're hoping to find some additional team members. I have a great team assembled here at the lodge now. That's basically the leadership team, but we're looking for, all the different positions for food and beverage. And we want to open with the general store, and we're not opening for one day. Once we open, we're open. So with the general store, as well as the newly added cafe, which is right next to the general store and just allows people who come up and pick up their mail to also have a cup of coffee, maybe hang out with a friend, have, something to eat. And then also with dinner at the restaurant. So the dining room has been completely renovated. It is beautiful. I think what the architects did with this renovation was they looked at the space and they kind of simplified the flow of the space. I think many of you who are listening to me today probably know that the general store itself had very many different levels, and it's all one level now. And it has a beautiful window looking out to the gorgeous trees behind us. The dining room has an addition of a chef's table and an open kitchen, and just a much of a flow. It flows much better. We've also made some really significant changes to ensure that the disabled access is much better than it was before. So you can come into the building and you can use an elevator and the ramp and you can get to the dining room. You don't have to go outside any longer. So some of those are the changes we've made, and we will expand our hours into lunch and brunch and all of these things that we offered in the past. Just depends on how much staff we can get.
Oh, of course. I mean, this time is so hard on every business, and then particularly in our small rural communities, every business is having problems. One of our local restaurants just announced yesterday that they're going to have to close for, I think, at least a week. That's one of our favorites, Cove Azul. Trinks has had issues. The Sea Ranch Supply has had issues. I mean, you name it. It's just happening all over. Do you have a presence on Facebook and information on Facebook, particularly about hiring, so that people can respond?
Yeah, we've actually posted on the community pages, because our website and our social media pages will go live as of next week. We're also sending out a newsletter to the community next week. I know many of you have been waiting for the latest update, but there really was not much to update because we were closed and we were just working away, making sure that everything was ready for opening. So that will come out to the Sea Ranch community, including a questionnaire asking everyone for input on programming. We're bringing the jazz nights back. We have a book signing late October. We're talking about a wine tasting in November. So all of these wonderful events that were hosted here in the past we are planning on bringing back, but we would like the input of the Sea Ranchers to let us know what they're looking for and what they're interested in.
Well, people are going to be very happy to respond, and and I'm sure you're well aware that people are so curious. And I want to go back to talking about, you said there'll be a cafe, and then the dinners will also be restored, because to a lot of sea ranchers and other locals here on the coast, it was, a place to go for dinners. Can you tell us a little bit about the menus? Let's start with the cafe, and then what you can tell us about the future of the restaurant.
So the cafe itself will be, it will have all the specialty coffees, smoothies, healthy juices. We're doing a little toast menu with everybody's favorite avocado toast and good old fashioned cinnamon toast and some pastries, some sandwiches. The general store also will have an area where we will sell wine and picnic supplies. And then Eric Piacentine is our new executive chef. He was most recently the executive chef at the Big Sur Bakery in Big Sur, and he and his wife Julie have joined us here at the Sea Ranch and are now happy Sea Ranchers and just as much in love with the place as I am. He before Big Sur Bakery, he worked at the Bernardus Lodge in Carmel Valley, and he started his career at Boulevard in San Francisco. He's all originally from Wisconsin, and but has lived here in California for many years now. So
I see he won a fungus face-off at the Big Sur River.
Yeah, so
with a mushroom custard.
Yeah, it's delicious. I mean, he describes his cuisine as rugged but refined. And I think it's a wonderful term to describe not only the cuisine, but also Sea Ranch for that matter. And when he was in Big Sur, same thing. I mean, his cuisine is very approachable. It uses a lot of fresh ingredients. I mean, the first thing he did was start going to the farmers market and making connections with farmers and foragers and fishermen and purveyors here in the area, so that we can ensure to bring all of the bounty of this area straight to the table.
That's great, because we definitely are a community that believes in go local. And I'm glad you reminded me. I forgot to remind people the farmers market is tomorrow at downtown Gualala. So don't forget about our farmers. And Point Arena, I think, is this afternoon. But go local is so important to our grocery stores, our local purveyors like Accents by the Sea, so many places. It's absolutely important. And as we're trying to keep our community as sustainable as possible. Well, the cafe sounds really interesting. And what about the restaurant, having nice sit-down dinners?
So the sit-down dinners will be in this same area of where the dining room was before. And like I said, we added this chef's table in the back where we used to have there was like a storage room and a hallway, and we opened it up to the outside. There was a window that was like hidden, and we have a much more open kitchen now where you can actually watch the action going on. And in terms of the cuisine, there will be certainly a lot of seafood on the menu, a lot of great vegetarian, vegan dishes, there's a lot of creativity in Eric's food, but it's not fussy. It's really approachable.
Let me ask you, in your career now, with the many places you've worked, you have watched a change in how people eat. I'm imagining how this sort of evolution in food. So what have you seen that's changed that you've brought forward with you along with Eric?
I think people are looking towards a much more simplified offering that kind of lets the colors and the taste and the texture of the actual ingredients show through, rather than having, heavy sauces and endless extra things on the plate. And you just want the food to really speak for itself and convey the message that the chef intends. And yes, it is very different. And I actually very much like it. I went to a restaurant recently, and I was traveling with somebody who was vegan, and we let the chef know asked whether they had any vegan options. And the chef said, we actually cook that way all the time. We just add a protein somewhere. So anybody vegan can come to us and eat everything on the menu except the protein. So I found that to be a very interesting answer and a very interesting approach, and also an approach that is very pleasing to so many people, because you're right. There's so many more allergies. There's so many more concerns about diets. So, and for that matter, the whole health aspect. So I think we need to, respect that and make sure we take care of all the different audiences that we have.
Mm-hmm. Very well thought out. I think if you've just joined us on Peggy's Place this morning on KGUA in Gualala, you are listening to the voice of Kristina Jetton, who is the general manager now at the Sea Ranch Lodge full-time. We're talking about the changes that we've seen some of the exterior changes. And if you are watching on KGUA's YouTube channel, you are looking at some of the exterior scenes, including the south end where the market is, that now is all one full story, one single floor, instead of having to, as you know, take steps around. And of course, the fantastic view. And we're talking about when the cafe opens, which is a new concept to the Sea Ranch, newer anyway, and the dinners. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is the changes. You said you've made it more accessible. And since a lot of the community that is in Sea Ranch is, an aging population, it's just the way
including ourselves. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So I have a bum knee right now, so it just life happens. So tell us again a little bit more about things that you think will make it more accessible for the community.
Well, I don't know if you've been here, you see the very nice ramp that goes along the very front of our entrance. And as you come through the second pair of entrance doors, which will be the doors that will be open for dinner, you will come in on an even surface and you will be able to turn to your right, and we have an accessible elevator. And it takes you one flight down to the dining room. And there's then again a very gently sloping ramp that takes you down to the main space. We have also added an ADA accessible restroom on that same level, so that you don't have to go anywhere anymore. You can just go right around the corner.
Very good. Very, very helpful. I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of those changes helpful. And again, I want to remind you that Kristina has also said there will be some announcements soon on the hiring that is going on. Who is it? Do they apply directly to you, Kristina, or do you have
There's an info
person?
No, we don't. They would apply with me. And there's an email on the flyers and the poster that will go out today. That's info@thesearanchlodge.com that they can respond to, or they just simply can respond to me. I'm Kristina at the Sea Ranch Lodge, and Kristina is spelled with a K. So either or is fine.
Kristina, I do want to ask you this one question. No, it's really good to know that the information is coming out today, that you have a Facebook page, and people in the community are just curious as to why it feels like it's taken a while for you to reach out to the community. That it seems like people were just have been waiting a long time.
Well, for me personally, I've only been here 5 weeks, maybe 6 by now.
Well,
so it's not been very long. And I've worked on some project. I mean, I've connected with the Sea Ranch Association, and for all the sea ranchers that are listening, we are working with them to add some mailboxes at the post office. So maybe someday you can actually get a PO box. We've identified space, and we're diligently working on that. I have connected with, I'm part of the artist in residency program that is being established here at the Sea Ranch. And I've, connected with the archives and many of the citizens here at the Sea Ranch that, have been here for a long time. And we're working on some projects together that I think will further illustrate how committed our ownership is to following the original vision of MLTW, Halpern, and Al Boki.
Have you talked with Diane Boki, who's still around? Just curious.
No, I have not talked to her, but I've talked to Donald Linden,
of course,
and Linda Kennedy at the archives, and Bob Sign at the artist in residency program. And so just slowly but surely we're reaching out. And my owners, when I first interviewed and when I was first hired, said to me, Kristina, we want you to open this lodge, and we want you to, open it as a new hub to the community. But we don't want you to do this if you're not ready. We want you to do it right. And that's a wonderful place to be. But it also means that you really want to be careful about what you do. And you do need to invest a lot of time and thought in doing things right. And I think that's maybe part of the reason why we haven't had anything that we wanted to announce, because there hasn't been much to announce. We've just been diligently working away at trying to get this place open and getting through all the permitting stages and all the inspections and all the additions of equipment and et cetera, et cetera. And that's not really exciting news to share. I don't think you want to hear that I'm ordering pots and pans and a dishwasher, so even though the dishwasher has the best view in the whole place. So, yes, we will be back in touch, and we'll continue to be in touch. And I'm a very collaborative person. I'm a very communicative person. And please, anybody who wants to reach out to me, I know I shouldn't say this because I'll probably regret it and I'll get 2,000 questions, but no, I'm happy to engage and I'm happy to be part of it all.
Well, that sounds great. You know, you mentioned this is new, an artist in residence program there. That sounds wonderful. Is that something that is done through the an arts foundation or the state, or?
It's in the very beginnings, you know, in the infancy stages, and we are the launching partner mostly to that effort. I believe they're working with the Kuala Arts Center, and Bob Zane, who I mentioned, who is a sea rancher, is heading up these efforts. And it's part of some of the initial master plan of the architects. And so it would definitely be in the spirit of that. Can
you spare me a few more minutes, or do you have to?
Yeah, I can. Okay, well, yes.
Great. Thank you, Leigh. Let's put on your visioning hat, and if you can share it with our audience. So let's say it's now 2 years down the road. What do you see the lodge as? What's gone on in those 2 years, and how it's different from now? Obviously, but
so there's a lot of new things still coming, right? So as we open this fall. And we will only open the south building, the building that houses the post office and the general store and the restaurant. And then we will, even though the north building has been closed this whole time, we will actually start renovation on the north building. And we will, again, use architects and designers that live lightly on the land, and we want to make sure that we keep the traditions even of the guest rooms going, like, let's say, the window benches or, you know, the beautiful wood interiors. At the same time, we have to build a lot of new infrastructure, and we want to do that mindfully and with sustainability in mind. So that is a very exciting project. It will also include the expansion or the creation of some flexible spaces. So we'll take a couple of guest rooms and maybe turn it into a room that houses meetings or lets people have a retreat, or let's say you have a family reunion, or you want to come you have a wedding, and that's where everybody gathers. So that's a big piece of the next phase. And then I'm sure most everybody on this radio show has probably heard that we have purchased the golf course. Nice. So we are, now connected to the golf links, and we will also, again, that it's a beautiful, beautiful course, and it's a links course, and it was designed by an architect who is very famous in the golf world, and what it needs most right now is TLC. So I think our focus too will be on cleaning up, on restoring some of the native grasses, on making sure the course is, playable and for everybody here and for the visitors at the same time, to, focus maybe a little bit on the younger generation that is starting to come to Sea Ranch and make sure that they are taken care of. Eventually, we will offer more food and beverage over there. So that is another project. We also have the barn here on the property, the Black Point barn, and it is in very, very poor shape. And we are in the process now of planning on making it structurally sound. We don't want to use it for anything but what it is. We want to keep it as the beautiful barn that it is. If you've ever stood in the barn, the light that filters through the back wall is just magical. It's so beautiful. And in many ways, the barn to me represents the history of the Sea Ranch, the history that goes back to the original people who lived on this land up to now. And we want to preserve it for future generations. So we're not rebuilding it. We're just making it safe, and I'm going to say this wrong if I'm not careful, but we're going to try to make it a monument in arrested decay. so that you can go in there and look at it and enjoy it. And we want to combine with that also an element that obviously talks about the barn and the history and its huge role that it played on this land for so many years. And so the history and teaching everyone that comes to the Sea Ranch about the Sea Ranch is really, really important to myself as well as ownership. And so again, that is one of the reasons why I connected with Lou and Linda at the archives, because we're trying to also have a little bit of an exhibit about the Sea Ranch as a whole here in our building, because we have some really beautiful walls that don't have any art on it, because we want the architecture of the building to be the art. We don't really want different exhibits and things like that, but we would really love to have something that talks about the history of the Sea Ranch. And so that's another project we're working on. So I have to honestly say, in my entire career, I've done so many amazing things, but I've only been here for 6 weeks, and there's so many things we're already starting and doing and working on, and it's very, very exciting. And so in 2 years, I hope that this will be the bustling gathering place for all sea ranchers, and we will be able to serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, brunch, and host events and make everything happen that happened in the past. And so with all these additional elements that are in the works and ever so exciting.
Well, I guess we'll give you a little slack for being here only 6 weeks. So you haven't got everything done yet. And of course, the imagining continues. And your past experience at Big Sur also has probably taught you a lot about living at the ocean and the strength of the ocean itself, the winds and the salt and all of that. It's time for me to remind listeners you're listening to Peggy's Place this morning on KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM. We are on the TuneIn app, Radio Garden. We have our own app, the Air Pocket. Thank you. Air Pocket app, which you can download. We're also on YouTube Live, so you can see Kristina Jetton, the new manager at the Sea Ranch Lodge. And, we've all been waiting so long to find out what's going on, because, yes, you have stepped into a place that is just so part of our community. And we certainly all know a lot about the lodge, because we've had Donald Linden on many times, and Maynard and Lou Linden are part of it, and Diane Bokey, as I said, her husband. She flew her husband around. She was a pilot, and she was one of the first women in TV. Actually, she's a very interesting lady. I think she's still out there playing pickleball or whatever you call it, something. Anyway, so a lot of us do understand the history, but it is just embraced by everyone. And to see it starting to sparkle again, you've mentioned lodging, which of course is very important. Will dogs be allowed? I mean, in this day and age,
Dogs will be allowed.
It's just become a part of everybody's life these days with our dogs everywhere, and the bluff trails. So in your spare time in the 6 weeks, have you walked up and down the bluffs?
Yep. I walk the bluff trail for an hour every morning, and it's kind of where I find my peace and get ready for the day. I have a dog myself. His name's Jack, and he's a little border collie mutt that we all love dearly. And yes, we will allow dogs at the lodge, at least in certain places, and definitely eventually in the guest rooms when we have the guest rooms ready.
Great. Yeah. Back to the question again. Back to the restaurant. You mentioned the chef's table. What does that mean to people who might be?
It's a table in the back that looks directly at the kitchen. That's where I was standing at the beginning when we got up this interview, and because it shows. I mean, the view from there is amazing, right? You're in this kind of window seat where you look out towards the ocean, and the other side of the table can enjoy the view, and then the people in the window seat can actually see the action in the kitchen. And it's intended for large parties, or people can just share on the at the table. So, you could have a party of 2 at one end and the party of 4 at the other, and there's 12 seats altogether. And if you get really cozy on the window bench, there's probably a few extras. So it's just a really nice gathering space. And we want to, this lodge and the 53 acres that go with it lend themselves to so many beautiful gathering spots. And I think that's something that we will also focus on as we go forward and see what we can develop in that direction.
I think some people also, this is back to the 2000 questions, were concerned about whether it was going to become just an event place and not, not as accessible to locals.
No, we will do events outside, but we will do smaller events inside once we have the North building available. We have the ability. So as you now, I have to honestly admit that every time I came to the Sea Ranch before, I will go to the bar, grab a glass of wine, and sit outside in the Adirondack chairs and stare at the ocean for a while. I didn't really come and have dinner. So I personally don't remember exactly how everything was arranged, but we now have a space as you come downstairs, which is called the Fireside Lounge. It still has a beautiful fireplace that is kind of a flexible space in as that the furniture in that area is such that we can rearrange it however we want. And that's where we hope that the programming will take place, including Thursday night jazz, which definitely will come back. And then the solarium is right below it. So we can also host events in that space. So like we could have a reception by the fireplace, and then you could go downstairs into the solarium and have a nice dinner. Very intimate. It's not going to be much more than 20, 30 people. So yes, we have the ability to have some gatherings. We can, have gatherings at the chef table, but until the second phase is completed, there's not really going to be that much that we will develop, so to speak.
What have you brought forward with you from your experience, whether it was at Big Sur or Ventana, that you think will help you enhance the lodge?
The last few places where I've been, I've restored and reopened. So like you mentioned the Flamingo, Ventana. Back in my Mandarin days in San Francisco, I renovated the hotel 3 times over. So I definitely am very well versed in restoration and renovation, even from my background at home. We have an old farmhouse at home that is, over 300 years old, and my mother has spent her entire lifetime trying to restore it. So its restoration is very important to me, and I really feel responsible to do it the right way and to do it right for the community. I worked at the Sonoma Mission Inn a long time ago, and my first job there was to add 30 rooms and open them up. And when we became Fairmont, it was the first time that I worked for a company, and Fairmont is huge now. It's like there's nothing very individual about it anymore, but they had 4 pillars instead of 3 pillars. Every hotel talks to you about the staff, the guests, and ownership and the financial responsibilities. And they added the pillar of community to it. And that was, almost 20 years ago now. And I have never forgotten that. And it has always been now a pillar of mine, because the connection to the community is unbelievably important. Trying to make a connection to a community as like Ventana and Big Sur is very, it's not challenging, but it takes time and patience. And, I became part of the board of the Big Sur Health Center, which was a lifeline for the people that lived in Big Sur. And so like there, I take my time to make sure that I participate in the right efforts that ultimately benefit the community so that we can do the outreach that we need to do. And it's a critical part of being a good general manager. And so restoration, the connection to the community, and then the staff. you'll see there's quite a few people who followed me here from some of the places that I worked before.
Mhm.
And I love building teams, and I love working for my team. I work with them and I work for them. And I value what they contribute, and um, I couldn't do it without them. So I'm happy for the few I have now, and I'm gonna be so thrilled to be able to welcome more.
You know, it's really wonderful, and KGUA welcomes you, and I know our audience is welcoming you to spend this time with us because, as you say, and we're talking with Kristina Jetton, the new general manager at the Sea Ranch Lodge, who brings with her a wealth of experience, as she just was talking about, of renovating a specialty resorts and lodges. When I think of Carmel, I mean, I think of Big Sur. A much wider spread out community. Here we're right next to you, literally we're all around you. And you know, so that longing, that desire to know what is going to change in our community has just been you must, even though you've only been here a short time, you know that the community is bubbling and wondering what's going to happen. When do we get to come in? What does it mean for us? Obviously. And so those community events, aside from the openings, and so how do you see this, Kristina? You're also being involved in the community once you have, I mean, it's not like you have all the spare time in the world to be out doing things. We realize that, but what does that really mean to you when you say, I want to be part of this community?
It means that I want to be able to communicate what happens here at the lodge. It means that I want to be able to do good. I you know, that's a pretty basic phrase, but if I can help, for example, at Sonoma Mission Inn, we had a partnership with a local school where we, every business of that ownership at the time had to adopt a elementary school. And we adopted a school in El Verano, which is, you know, a very mixed community, a very low income. And we went into the classroom and mentored kids. We did, you know, help in the classroom. We sponsored Teachers Appreciation Days. We come in and do a whole setup for a special occasion. There was so many things like that. And I worked really closely with the principal of that school. And it was a very rewarding experience for both of us and for our teams. So something like that, like, I don't know what it is, and I don't know what will come my way, but there will be something, I'm sure, you know.
Well, I'm very excited to think about whether that comes about or not, working with kids in the schools, because we have such, you know, limited abilities to interact with the kids here, and the kids who are, they're so far away. You know, we've tried doing all kinds of, not just KGUA, but in other ways within the community, so that kids can see a horizon for them, whether it's to become a general manager or a chef, or you know, whatever kind of work, landscaping. It's all important, and people, once they're here, want to stay within the community if that's their desire.
Yeah,
You know,
our future workforce.
yeah, and which is, we're all clearly desperately needing now. What have you learned in this time of COVID?
Well, I was very happy with your announcement that you made at the beginning of the show, because I really feel that mask wearing and getting vaccinated it just has to happen, or we're never going to get rid of this horrible disease. And it's so devastating that it is now hitting a younger generation also, and that the kids at school are still compromised, and that we, you know, we have a responsibility, I think, to all of them to keep them safe and make sure that we don't spread the disease. And in the workplace here, we have very strict protocols in terms of temperature taking and wearing masks, and, you know, being vaccinated. And if you're not vaccinated, then you're going to have to get tested, right? Because it's my responsibility to protect everybody that comes through these doors. So we had a very strict procedures in place where I worked before, and we will reestablish them here.
Mm-hmm. Are you still in touch with family and friends in Europe?
Oh, yes, yes.
Can you are European communities experience the same kind of lack of cooperation or misinformation that we seem to be experiencing here in America?
I can speak for Switzerland, where my family is, and all of my family has been vaccinated. In Switzerland, contrary to here, the kids went to school the entire time. The schools never closed. And the challenge there is more actually getting the vaccine rather than not get, whether you don't even have the choice sometimes whether you can get vaccinated or not. Mm-hmm. I went home in April to help my mom move, who's elderly, and it took me a long time to plan that trip because I wasn't even able to get in there without being quarantined. And eventually that was lifted, fortunately, and I was able to go home and help them. So they're struggling in their own way. They didn't have a mask mandate for the longest time, but they have a mask mandate now for sure. So it's different in every country, I think. I think England suffered tremendously, and we all know that Italy was hardest hit at the beginning. I traveled to Greece also recently in between my two jobs, and there the vaccinations are very scarce. Like the people we know there are waiting, maybe they'll get it in November. So I think the accessibility to the vaccine in Europe is much nowhere near as good as here.
Wow, I didn't realize that, and I really appreciate you being able to share that experience with us. As as a journalist witnessed what I can from our point of view and what's going on globally. I mean, and that's so hard to for some people to grasp. This is a global human event. And so it's up to all of us to help end this or curtail it at the very least. And it's new. And the one thing I've noticed is that when it comes to our emotions and feelings, there seems to be that all of us on a certain day or week are maybe using the same word. Today I feel exhausted. Today I'm lost. My brain isn't working right. Today I don't know what to think, and those kinds of emotions that are happening. And I wouldn't doubt that it's happening in India, England, and everywhere else at the same time. And just I really try to emphasize to our audience that, this is a human thing. And everybody, yes, is handling it differently and trying. Every nation, I would say, and their cultures are slightly different. So how we handle things, but are just two simple facts. If you are not vaccinated and you don't wear masks, you are at risk and putting other people at risk. A couple of questions came in, as you can see. Will there be outdoor dining? And this is from Mark Olson, who's watching us on YouTube. Hi, Mark. Yes, KGUA YouTube. We just got a few minutes left here with Kristina Jetton, who's the general manager at the Sea Ranch Lodge. We're getting to know her quite a bit right now, and we appreciate that. So will there be outdoor dining?
Well, there will not be outdoor dining in the dining room per se, because that's, the winds are really prevalent right here. So right. Being able to sit outside and enjoy dinner is not really feasible. That's why we have the solarium, and it kind of feels like you're outside. We will have some tables out front so that you can enjoy the cafe fare outside. So we will have some outdoor dining, so to speak.
A little protection from the wind in front.
Yes, much nicer.
That is always the problem for all of us here on the coast, but particularly if you're right there at the ocean. Yeah. Are you living at the lodge? If you don't mind me asking, are you living locally?
I'm living locally. I'm a sea rancher now, and very happily so.
Very good. Very good. Carolyn Ducata from Surf was on she comes on, we try and do a monthly show and talk about food. We have a lot of fun, but the Sea Ranch Lodge now is taking some of those great Surf Market has taken some of the great graphics from the Sea Ranch Lodge and put them on shopping bags now.
Right.
So that's a nice coordination with what's going on there, making sure that people understand the importance of those iconic
Yes,
graphics.
we still have Bobby's arrow here at the lodge. David was able to restore it and bring it, lift it up on the same level with all the original boards. And we've actually been in touch with Bobby because we might explore getting some of the other graphics or maybe a new graphic back. So that connection also exists. I have reached out to her and I'm very happy about that.
I can see that in your eyes when you said that. So as we're getting close to the end here, so just what does it mean to you to be working on an iconic property like this?
Oh, it's very humbling. I mean, the time I've spent with Donlin Linden and the time I hopefully get to spend with Bobby are so very special. And they are both such incredible people and have, contributed so much to what the Sea Ranch is today. And I feel very honored and grateful.
Great. Ms. Leanne, do you have any question I've missed?
No, responding to people on YouTube.
Oh, she's in the background in the other room responding to people on YouTube. And
65 watchers.
how many?
65.
Wow, you're a star, Kristina. We've got 55 watchers. I mean, for our little rural community, this is like, wow. We're really happy that we get to do use YouTube these days. I think it's a great addition for community radio, and that's our role is to serve the community. Well, I think we are almost out of time, but we've got a couple of minutes left. Anything else you want us to know?
No, I think I very much enjoyed my time with you. Thank you so much. And I will be happy to participate again. And if one of these days after we get open, you want to talk to Eric, definitely that is an option. And we would love to see you at the lodge.
Well, we volunteer to be tasters anytime.
Okay, good. I'll keep that in mind.
And of course, we want to get to the lodge. I'm sure the golfing community had more questions. I'm not a golfer, and you at one point you did mention that you might perhaps find a way to do some housing for employees.
So again, this is a tribute to our ownership. When I first interviewed with them back in June, they asked me if there was anything else that I thought would be necessary to make this a success. And I said, well, quite honestly, workforce housing will be something that would be, is really critical to attract talent and to bring people in from other places and to make sure everybody here is taken care of. And lo and behold, within the first week that I started my job, David took me on a tour of a property that they had just purchased in St. Point Arena. So yes, we are looking into workforce housing. We're starting the planning of what we can put on that property and probably do more than that. So yes, that is definitely in the works.
Did they say an actual date of opening?
Yes, October 1.
October 1.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
And there were 60 watchers.
65 people, and we really are out of time. Covazul, I wanted to let you know, I did mention Covazul. Covazul is closed due to a health issue with a family member not staffing. And so we, send our prayers to their family too. They're just across from us. And of course, they've been one of the few restaurants that have been able to maintain. Kristina Jetton, thank you so much for being a part of this. This repeats at 1:00 and it will be on our YouTube channel so people can look that up too. Our wing woman, Leanne Lindsey, thank you. And to our audience, I hope we have answered most of your questions. If not, we'll have another 2,000 with you sometime soon.
And you can email Kristina.
Thank you, Peggy.
And how can people email you, or do you?
Sure, they can email me. Yes.
Kristina at the.
Don't flood my email box, but by all means.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And we have to leave
care.
you right now. Take care, Kristina. It's been a
Bye-bye.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And we're going to go now to Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're going to leave the ocean, go to our desert friends down in Albuquerque, and get ready for Native America Calling. This is KGUA in Walla.